We are back now with the one and only Giant Take Ring of Honor member. You know him very well. He celebrated many milestones of this podcast. And Justin, if you didn't know, we're now over 300 and you were on the 100th episode special. So we bring it back on. Talkin Giants, JM Jomboy Media Football if you're watching on YouTube, inside the Jomboy Media Studios, coming to us live from New York City. Justin Penik. How you doing, my man?
Hello, fellas. Episode 3. We're in the 300s.
We're 302, 303.
You're catching up to Talkin Giants because we're in the 700s. You're catching up.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be catching up. I mean, as long as you guys keep pretty. I don't think that's how it works, Justin.
Episode every hour. We'll make it there by the new year.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, but hello. We're all friends. We're talking again. We're talking about the Giants. I like talking about almost not anything but the Giants with you guys, but I almost like talking about I will say anything but the Giants with you guys because we've been friends for so long, and the Giants aren't super fun right now. But our lives are super fun. So no, but let's do it. Let's talk Giants. Let's do what we got to do. I love you guys. It's been great to know you guys for the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, we had Bobby on. I guess it was last week, right, Josh? It was last week, and we had a funny YouTube comment, and he was saying, or someone commented.
Oh, yes.
That Bobby was talking with Justin Penik and Daniel Jones. So apparently, I look like you, and Josh looks like
Daniel Jones.
That's a compliment. That's a compliment for me to be compared to you, Al.
Oh,
I mean, I was thinking the same way, but.
You're flattered, Alex. Let's be honest.
I'm flattered. I mean,
Josh, I've seen Daniel Jones in person now a couple times. Flex.
Okay.
He's a much more handsomer person in person compared to the via a screen.
I don't understand the Daniel Jones reference at all because I've only seen him also wear glasses like a couple of times here and there.
He's not a glasses wearer.
He's not really a glasses wearer, but thanks, I guess. I when I first saw the comment and I sent it to Alex, I said, "Who is who?" And he immediately said that he looked like you.
Obviously,
so he
you're Daniel Jones.
Why is that obvious, though?
Hair color.
Here's the thing. I could see. You know, some people wear glasses before bed, like if they do reading or if they watch TV.
I've seen him wear glasses before. I've seen him. You know when I've seen him wear glasses when he's been on the show with what's her name? The weekly when he had a weekly segment with the former NFL Network Good Morning Football host,
Kay Adams.
Kay Adams.
Thank you.
So I think Daniel Jones is a at home when you get up in the morning. When you get up in the morning or before bed, glasses are on. I've never seen him with glasses on though.
Really? Yeah, you got to watch. I think he's been on with Kay Adams. He's worn them. I think he probably like right before he goes, he'll take off the contacts and right before in the morning before he puts on the contacts.
That's such a great call.
He does. Yeah. So, well, we can talk about Daniel Jones and glasses wearing all day, but another thing that is coming up this week that also Jomboy Media had their very famous own version of just come out recently, slight plug there for you guys as well. The NFL scouting combine. Now, I don't know which one is better to watch, the NFL scouting combine or the Jomboy Media combine, but I think they're both up there. So we will ask you though, your favorite performers from each. First of all, the Jomboy Media Combine. Who were your favorite? Are you allowed to shout out yourself from this, or?
Well, yes. I mean, I give elite performances every single year in the 40-yard dash that came out on Tuesday, the 27th, and then the rest of the week on Wednesday, Thursday, we'll have the rest of the videos coming out as well. But I love. Like the 40 is just my favorite video every year. Like we could just, I know we have to add wrinkles every year and we can't just do the same thing. But if it were up to me, we would just do the same thing every year because I love hearing and watching people run. Like Rob Scirocco, and he at the line and he just goes run for 40 yards. Like it cracks me up. Joe's McFly before he pops his hamstring is at the line being like, oh shit. This is going to F me up. And then lo and behold, he like pops his hamstring at like the 30-yard marker.
Alex, did you see that video, by the way? If you haven't seen it yet, top 10. Like,
no, when they come out, that's the first thing I click. I always see the 40-yard. After Justin's first performance in the first combine you all did, where he was kind of.
I just ran with my neck. It's like I have 2 left feet. I gallop, and I don't know.
Every year I'm looking for the improvement. I'm trying to see like.
Well, here's the thing. I lost a lot of weight like 1 or 2 years ago, and then I've gained a little bit of it back, and I'm getting faster. The more weight that I gain back, the faster and the quicker that I get. And the year that I ran with my neck is when I was skinniest, and I was very slow. It's almost like my body was not proportionally right and together. So that's my theory. I said that on the video. So I think the fatter that I get, I think the faster that I get.
So ever since then, I've been an instant watcher. I'm waiting for it every year.
Thank you. No, but that's it's a lot of fun. Everybody, we got some. The video came out while there was still a good amount of people in the office, and the fact that I was hearing laughs at different locations at different times, I'm like, oh, okay, this is good, this is funny. So we always have a blast with that.
So we move from the Jomboy Media Combine to the NFL Combine.
Yeah,
what a transition. So we talk about people and performances in that. Are there any players specifically or positions specifically that you're looking forward to at this year's Combine?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be lying. I'm, every year it's like you're always behind on draft prep. But I mean, I think as the years have gone on, I've taken way more stock into cornerback 40-yard dash times. I'm especially really looking forward to the corners with their arm lengths. Like I think if you're 30 inches or over, that's like a plus. It's like, all right, you got a shot to be good in the NFL if your arms are over 30 inches in the NFL. And you can run somewhat of a respectable 40-yard dash time. But if you have arms that are shorter than 30 inches, so for corners, I definitely look out for that and their 40-yard dash time. Same thing with receivers. Their 40-yard dash time, we've seen some of the combine heroes like Chase Claypool a couple years ago. He really raised his draft stock at the combine, and he's been an all right pro. I guess underwhelming, but a lot of the guys that do run fast 40s and they really stand out. What I think it does is it doesn't make you say, oh, this guy's a first round pick, second round pick. What I think it makes you do is, this guy's worth looking more into. And that's what I always kind of take from the combine is, oh, this receiver threw well, this running back was fast, this lineman had a fast shuttle time. I think now you kind of take those athleticism pieces and it's like, all right, well, what players are worth looking more into? Or if there's a player that has like athleticism questions, and it's like, well, for the lineman, they didn't run a good shuttle, whatever other drills are important for lineman. This corner, he has long speed issues. Well, what does his 40 look like? And if his 40 is slow, it could confirm. So that's kind of like what I look for out of the combine. If a guy shows up to be an athletic freak, then it's like, oh, you put him, you write his name down, and oh, that guy's worth looking into more, and that guy's worth watching after the fact. But I certainly don't take anything of the combine and be like, oh, because he had a good combine, that means he's like a first, second round pick or whatever.
It gets the people talking. I think that's really like what we're all getting at is that's what it, whether it's scouts, whether it's social media, whether it's fans, etc. One fast 40 time that's in the top 5 40 times of all wide receivers, etc., gets people talking. I think that's what's so successful about the NFL Combine.
And I've never really looked forward to quarterbacks throwing before because as a Giants fan, we've just had Daniel Jones, and there hasn't really been since 2019 and since I've been kind of really knee deep in this stuff, there hasn't been any kind of, right, the Giants are going to take a quarterback in this year's draft. It's here. It could happen this year. So Jaden's not going to throw Jaden Daniels isn't going to throw Caleb. I don't even know if he's probably showing up, but I don't think he's doing anything. Probably just going to talk with teams. So the one guy that I'm excited to actually watch throw is JJ McCarthy, because I have this thing right now where I think JJ McCarthy is very good at driving the ball towards the middle of the field, but I have some concerns about him driving it out towards the sidelines and kind of pushing it out there and outside the numbers. And that's where Daniel Jones has his really big issues right now. Is he has barely any attempts outside the numbers and towards the hashes, towards the sideline. Excuse me. So that's like another thing that I'm looking out for. And any quarterback that runs a 40, I'm excited to see how fast they are, how fast they move too. So quarterback, that's usually the position that we're kind of not watching as Giants fans, but I'm kind of locked into quarterback this weekend.
Yeah, and you've got players like Bo Nix also, who kind of, I know, had a disappointing Senior Bowl, obviously, which you were at, which we'll talk about in a couple minutes. But, players like that who are kind of teetering on that late first round range, early second round. Can they push themselves into the first round? I think that's going to be interesting as well. But like you said, quarterback's a really interesting position because now we've seen, again, over the past few years, a lot of players that maybe didn't have the best tape, coming out of college, maybe came from smaller schools, but they come into the combine, they run a really fast 40. They have a really good arm length, like you mentioned, 30 plus inches. And you see them go, maybe not super high, but higher than you'd expect. And end up being pretty decent pros because, Josh and I always talk about this, but the draft process, it's really always about projection. So, I think the cornerback position is one that you can project, a lot better from the combine than any other. And obviously you need to have the intangibles, right? Reading the game, that kind of thing. Do you have that it factor at corner that we see all these guys who have, the high interception numbers, whatever it may be. But corner's a good shot. I wasn't really even thinking about that one, but now that you said it, it definitely makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, especially when you get the official arm measurement and maybe not the pro day where they'll add let's add an eighth or a quarter of an inch here, a half an inch here, and
his fingernails were extra long that day.
Yeah. So the combine, you'll get the official one. So that's what I really lock into for that.
Yeah.
So Alex mentioned the Senior Bowl. We mentioned it to Bobby, but I want to say it to you too. The favorite ever, I think content-wise with you guys, and it's nothing against Talkin Giants at all, but the couch, Simple Man Radio with you, Snacks, Bobby, all just crowded in onto that one couch. I think that was Simple Man Radio. We were trying to figure out the year. What is that? 2021? Maybe?
It was 2021 or 2022. Yeah.
All stuffed in that couch in the hotel
room. It was the
room,
first year you guys went, right?
Well, all of us, because there was 1 or 2 years where Bobby went by himself, and then when I started full time, and after I graduated college, so that was 2022. That was all of our first year, all of our first years going. So
anyway, my favorite piece of content ever. That was and then you prank called Pizza Hut, right, or something?
Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
We wound up getting the Pizza Hut too, so that was the important part there. But 6'7", Bobby Skinner on a couch, me, who I'm not I'm not huge, but I'm not the smallest person in the world. And then you had Snacks and Grump there too, just the 4 of us on this couch with
I forgot about
in a hotel room with the lighting and oh my god! I would make one of my favorite stories to tell. One of my favorite stories to tell is I would make every year. This year we got an Airbnb and it was awesome. We were able to actually have a little bit better lighting and it was just better than a hotel, better Wi-Fi and everything. We also just got different access this year, which was awesome too. But when we stayed at the hotel and we did everything at the hotel, I would make everybody bring their lamps to my room for lighting. Because we didn't bring lighting. We actually brought lighting this year too. So we even did that better. But in years past, we didn't bring any kind of lights or lighting. And, the camera that we have, is pretty good at adjusting to the light, but I still needed more because the, regular hotel rooms, especially if it's dark at night, it's not enough lighting. So I would have Snacks, Grump, Bobby, bring your lamps. And there would just be a million lamps. It looked like that crazy lady from Stranger Things with all the lights that were in my room. So that's one of my favorite behind the scenes stories to tell from the Senior Bowl.
All right. I mean, yesterday we've got the big Joe Schoen press conference, right? It's always I guess a big spectacle. Everyone expects him to announce something huge. Of course, he doesn't say anything really of that big significance. Of course, we had. Did you see the funny prank call?
Oh well, it wasn't a prank. Charlie's a real person who.
Yeah.
I can't believe they let him in. They knew, and this is credit to John Schmelk, and this is credit to Madeline Burke, because they did have some questions yesterday that were good questions and a little bit tougher, and they know. Madeline Burke very clearly saw this is Charlie calling for wherever, and if you know the Twitter Spaces, Charlie is insane. And the fact that they let him on air, that loose cannon on air, I thought he was going to drop F-bombs and everything. And good for Charlie for staying professional. And good for good for them on allowing that call to come in and even that question being asked to Joe Schoen. Yeah, so I actually thought that we got way more out of Joe Schoen talking on the side to the media and that fan Q&A. We got way more out of that than the actual press conference that he gave. So
am I blanking? What was this? Wasn't the free agent question? This is different. This prank call, Charlie question.
Yeah, it wasn't a prank. It was just more funny. That's kind of what I meant to say.
Okay.
Daniel Jones is horrible. You mentioned the Minnesota game. Oh wait, hold on. The lights have to turn back on.
So while Justin goes and turns on the lights, I haven't seen that clip. I saw the free agent one, which I think sounded like a kid. Well, Alex, did you see the one where it was like a kid who called in or something?
Yeah, that was funny.
So are you gonna go after a free agent?
Are you into the free agent? And he's like, on the Giants or off the Giants? Yeah. So that was fun. I don't know if that was a prank call, but it was just
I think it was literally. It sounded like a kid calling in.
But Charlie stole the show.
Okay.
Where
I have to see that.
It was like, you mentioned Daniel Jones against the Viking game, and that's the game that everybody brings up. This guy's horrible. Mention all the Dallas game and whatever. So he's a character.
You should have seen Joe Schoen's face. It was funny.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. Crazy. We've never had anything like that before. Like I don't think they've ever.
Crazy.
Never.
It was crazy that they let him on.
Honestly, to be fair, Josh, it didn't go as crazy on Twitter as I thought it would have gone. Not that many people were talking about it. I thought more people would have been
because a lot of people don't really know who Charlie is. Maybe a lot of people just thought, you know what, that's a really good question, Joe Schoen. Why don't you answer?
Yeah, I guess.
But the fact that I don't think not a lot of people know that they very much knew who that was, and they knew what he was going to ask about, and they knew that the question was going to be. They had to know. Madeline Burke and John Schmilk had to know or the producers, whoever, they had to know when they let that call in what it was going to be about, and they let it through.
Yeah,
fair enough.
But one thing Joe Schoen did say was he's a guy we'd like to have back, referring to Saquon Barkley, which I think is probably the exact same quote word for word that he said last year. It's nothing new. So the same statement that he echoed last season, do you think it's going to be the same result?
No, the same result being the franchise tag. And no, I don't think they're going to tag him, and I don't think they're going to reach an extension. I think he's going to hit the open market, and I don't think he's going to be a Giant next year. I think it's time, man. I think it's time. And no matter how much, I think privately, Joe Schoen may think, and this isn't even like he hates Saquon Barkley, but I think privately, and part of me hopes privately, that Joe Schoen's like, you know what, let's cut ties, let's just go our separate ways, and then the thing that he could say at the next press conference, whenever that is, probably be after the draft, if they ask about Saquon Barkley, or I don't know if he's probably going to talk before the draft, and the thing that he's going to say, well, we just couldn't reach an agreement. He wanted to be back. I wanted to be back. I wanted him to be back. We just couldn't reach a number that both of us could agree on, and that's probably going to be the answer. And I'm fine with it. But this is just it's a marriage that's only going on for the sake of the children. They're staying together for the kids, and it's not that. Usually, that's not a good marriage. They need a divorce. I think for both of them, for both sides. The Giants need to focus on building a team that doesn't have Saquon Barkley as a focal point of it, because they've been trying to do that since 2018. It has failed. And Saquon Barkley also deserves the right to go get paid somewhere accordingly and compete. And I think a competing team would sign him. People are throwing around Houston Texans as a fit. I think that's a cool fit. And he deserves to go somewhere and try to win while, he's still, before he reaches that age 30 season. So I do think that it will not head in the same direction as it did last year with the franchise tag. I don't think they're going to tag him, and I don't think they're going to come up with an agreement. I think he's going to hit the open market and go somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he's going to get tagged. I don't think he's going to be with the Giants. But there was an interesting tidbit. I don't know if you saw this, that Joe Schoen, I guess the question, I think it was posed right after talking about Saquon Barkley, was about the salary cap and kind of how it obviously has gone up dramatically this season. And he kind of said that gives us more flexibility. And I forget the exact quote, but it very much hinted that at the possibility of Saquon, of course, when you tag someone, it hurts the cap for this season, right? You can't move it around, etc. But that could like kind of open it up, I guess, as a possibility. That was just kind of the sense I got from the exchange. I'm not sure if you saw that.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing. So the Giants have about 30 right now. They could release Glowinski for about 35. They still don't have a lot of money. I think they're comfortable, but at the end of the day, if they want to go out and they want to sign a Bobby Okereke type of free agent contract again, they need to push that money back because they need at least $10 million for the draft class. They're going to need a couple extra million to just get through the season and get through camp, right? So you're not going to be able to spend all of this. And I think Barkley, what the tag is around 13, is it 13 or 14 for the second tag for Barkley? That would be half. That would be already half of what you're already, what your cap space is right now. And obviously, you could restructure Bobby Okereke, you could restructure Dexter Lawrence and restructure Andrew Thomas. I don't know if the Giants really want to be in the boat of continuing to push money back. It sounds great where Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas are young players, where it's like, oh, they're going to be here forever, right? Just feels like they're going to be here until their 30s and they're going to retire as Giants, right? I just don't know. Let's cross that bridge when we get there. We extended those guys good on Joe Schoen. Let's not continue to just push money back. We kind of gotta. This is the era of the mistake of the Daniel Jones extension. It needed to be done, right? I don't regret extending him in the time, but you got to, deal with this $47 million cap hit, and this is part of it, where maybe you can't franchise Saquon Barkley for a second time. Maybe you do need to push McKinney's contract a little bit down the road if he wants 15, 16 million average annual, APY, right? So I don't think because the cap gave an additional $6 or $7 million, which it is significant and it's helped the Giants. I don't think that's enough to say, all right, now I feel comfortable tagging Barkley, because I do think extending McKinney is the priority.
Yeah. I mean, for McKinney, are you open to the franchise tag for him, the transition tag? Some are saying, obviously that's not used frequently. You look at the safety market and he's probably going to want numbers that, Derwin James, some of the top safeties in the league are going to want. We know he's a very, I'm trying to think of the word, but I'd say he's a very passionate individual.
He's an outspoken player.
Outspoken, passionate guy. And I think that could make negotiations very difficult. What is your kind of limit for McKinney? Where do you draw the line, and where do you think Joe Schoen's going to draw the line?
Well, I don't think he's going to get a Derwin James, Minkah Fitzpatrick contract, because he hasn't put up all pro years, right? He just hasn't done it. He's been a very good player. And where I think this is where I hope that Joe Schoen and McKinney's representatives, we're all reasonable here, because I think Joe Schoen will give a reasonable contract for Xavier McKinney. You saw it with AT and Dex. They came to agreements there. And I think where hopefully McKinney's representatives, McKinney and Schoen, will come together is with the guaranteed years. And I look at the Justin Simmons contract, for example. He got 3 guaranteed years with that fourth year. Or it may have even been a 5-year deal, 4 or 5-year deal, but basically 3 years were guaranteed. And that's the number that I think really matters to these guys and these contracts. Is we'll always react to 4 years, $64 million as a contract for Xavier McKinney, but then you got to wait for the guaranteed number. Is it in the 30s? Is it in the 40s? And I think if you can give Xavier McKinney 3 guaranteed years of good, solid money, and then maybe even add a fourth year with the little bit of dead cap, guaranteed money somewhat down the line. That's what I think will hopefully get the deal done. Not the 18 million average annual, per year, like Derwin James and Minkah Fitzpatrick. But if you can tell Xavier McKinney, you have 3 years guaranteed here. Do you want to be here? You're 24, you're 25, and this will still, even when this contract kind of comes to an end, it'll still allow you to hit the free agent market again, or come up with an extension by the time that you're 28, 29, and you haven't even crossed 30 yet. So hopefully that is where Joe Schoen, that's where I'm leaning, and that's what I kind of hope is done. I certainly wouldn't mind 3 guaranteed years of Xavier McKinney, if that's what it's going to take to get done.
Yeah, I mean, my concern with McKinney is that obviously he is such an outspoken guy. He is, it kind of has that personality that I think, the guaranteed money with him is risky, right? We've already seen him at this point, right? In not this past season, but the season before, fall off the ATV.
Yeah.
He's been inconsistent. He's had kind of scuffles in the locker room with obviously the Wink and Dable situation and all that kind of stuff. But so I think there's some considerations to be taken with that also, that do you really want to give guaranteed money to a guy who's maybe somewhat unreliable off the football field, right? Obviously on the football field, he is very reliable because he played every snap of every game this past season, but you have to take that into consideration. Is he the type of guy that Joe Schoen wants to keep around long-term? Yeah. Is he that locker room presence that he wants to keep around long-term? And that I'm not positive about.
I don't think anything has been too dramatic in terms of this is why you wouldn't want this guy around. I think that hopefully the ATV accident was a one-time thing, and it's all right, well, he knew that he almost lost some freaking fingers, and then he knew that there was a chance that he may have lost a couple $1 million just from that happening, and not having him down the stretch for 2022. That may already be impacting him through these negotiations. So I'm confident that something like that won't happen again. But sometimes, after Odell got his money, right? Odell kind of planted a little bit of seeds before he got his money about how he can kind of be outspoken and be a little bit of a distraction. And then he did get his money, and then he took it to a whole nother level with the whole Lil Wayne interview and everything like that. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back for that regime, and being all right, well, we literally can't have you throwing the coach and the quarterback under the bus. No matter how talented you are, we literally can't have you doing that. So I'm confident that McKinney won't do that. I'm confident that he's going to be fine. I am confident that the extension and it's worth it. But you never know, where now that these guys, they get their guaranteed money and they feel a little bit more confident and entitled that they could say what they want and do what they want. I don't think it's that bad it's not going to be like Odell levels with McKinney. But certainly it's something to think about. And I think the Giants hopefully have enough of a read on McKinney, whether he's going to do that or not, which I'm confident he won't.
I wanted to talk. So you mentioned Odell Beckham.
Oh, sure.
Far transition, but I was going to say Odell Beckham wide receivers. We just did our top wide receivers in this year's draft, and I know you said for the scouting combine, you guys are a little bit, not super ahead of your draft research. So if I'm putting you on the spot, you don't have to do it if you don't want to, but I just didn't know if you had any standouts for your, wide receiver class this year. Malik Neighbors to the Giants. That's been, out there. A lot of Giants fans want him as their wide receiver one, even though I feel like we just have done this the past 2 years. Wandell Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, and yet we're here again saying we have a top 10 pick.
Those guys are late round guys. Those guys are later round guys, second round, third round.
Jalen Hyatt wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah, but there's a reason he fell, and we've seen that.
Yeah. So I never. There's a reason why I was really excited about Jalen Hyatt in the third round versus, if we took him at 25, I would have been like, no way.
Be crazy, yeah.
So and that's the thing where Jalen Hyatt, I think he's one of the examples, and even guys like Xavier Worthy, and name any of the receivers that could be taken in round 2 or the latter part of round 1. There's so many receivers. All right, there's so many receivers. I think you're going to continue to see this year in and year out of, even you take last year, for example. Last year was seen as like a bad receiver draft, yet you see how, Jackson Smith and Jigba could be good. He had some moments, and, Zay Flowers obviously took off with Baltimore. You see, last year was considered like a bad receiver draft, and even some of those guys really did well. Puka Nacua, even in the 5th round. So I think the depth that you get at receiver year in and year out, because of how advanced the college offenses are becoming, and how these guys are getting more athletic, they're getting faster, they're getting bigger, they're getting stronger every single year. We're going to continue to see, maybe not like having 2 wide receivers taken in the top 10 every year. But we're going to see, I think, the depth of receiver just kind of, every other year or every year. This is just what we're going to see in the NFL now, and that gets me excited. It has me excited for the potential for the Giants. I think I lean Neighbors a little bit more because I think he's more athletic than the guy from Washington. Again, I haven't really fully started yet. The combine's gonna help, but as I've watched Jaden Daniels, I've gotten like, oh, there's just Neighbors making this explosive play, and both of them are just making it look easy. So whether the Giants want to walk away from this draft and just take the stud in the top 10, or do you want to trade back, or do you want to wait? Do you want to wait on the receiver because you know that there's going to be depth there in the second round, and then there's a chance that you can get your alpha, possibly number 1 wide receiver in the second round because, those guys are that damn good. I'm excited for the possibilities because of the depth that this draft kind of holds. I mean, you could even double down. You could even take your guy in the top 10, and then you have, 3 more top 100 picks in the second and the third round to take advantage of the depth at wide receiver, which the Giants, they need it. They need depth everywhere. And if you want to get the Giants need depth everywhere, number 1, and they also just need really damn good football players. And that's really what covering, and this is a little bit of a side tangent. That's really what covering doing stuff with JM football this year and covering the NFL, I put that in quotes, covering the NFL, what it really taught me this year. Looking at the rest of the NFL, you want to know what they have? You want to know what the 49ers have? You want to know what the Chiefs have? You want to know what the Ravens have? You want to know what the Bills have? They have really good football players at a lot of different spots. 49ers have an all-pro at every level of their team. They have Trent Williams, who's a future Hall of Famer. They have Christian McCaffrey, who's an all-pro offensive player of the year. They have Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. They have George Kittle. They have Nick Bosa. They have Fred Warner. They have really good secondary players as well. That's just one team. You look up and down these good teams. They have all-pro caliber players at every single spot of their team. The Giants do not have that. The Giants have Andrew Thomas and Dexter Lawrence. And Bobby Okereke is good player, but he's a free agent. He's not a guy that we drafted and developed, and you don't know how long he's going to be here. And I would consider Xavier McKinney to be in that boat, but he's not an all-pro quality player. He's a good player. The Giants need great players, and that is the number 1 priority, whether it is wide receiver. This draft class is so important for Joe Schoen because they've had the capital in the past, especially 2022 with 2 top 10 picks. I don't think they got a star out of any of their picks so far through 2 years, and that includes the 2 top 10 picks. Kayvon, excited for Kayvon in this new defense where Bowen is definitely going to emphasize getting to the quarterback more. Kayvon's got a shot, hasn't shown the consistency. The Giants need stars, and whether you want to grab that player in the top 10, whether that's a receiver, whether that's a quarterback, we'll see. But the Giants need stars at every level, and they do not have that right now. And that is how you're going to get to the top of the league.
Alex, I know you're just about to ask that question.
Go for it.
I know you're just about to ask that question. We're going to get to that in a second, actually, Justin. I just want to say it's so funny because, Alex, we had this exact conversation the other day, and then there's some, on the cusp Giants fans, Alex. I don't know how you want to reference your dad here, but we, we're talking about the Giants stars, and we were talking to Alex's dad the other day, and there's some Giants fans who still think that it's only Saquon. And then he's like, well, if we don't have Saquon signed next year, then we don't have a star. And Alex is like, well, did you forget that Andrew Thomas and Dexter Lawrence exist?
But also,
and he's
Saquon Barkley is a star. Oh, yes, I agree with that. Saquon Barkley, besides 2022, has not had a productive year for the Giants since 2019, which 2022 matters. It matters 100%. Yeah. But he's entering year 7, and so he's had 6 years in the NFL. 2.5 years have been productive for Saquon Barkley in a Giants uniform. So you could say that Saquon Barkley is a star, but we're at a point where if you're gonna be if we're gonna spend a high quality draft pick in you with high draft capital, it's not only just about the name factor. It's not only just about a presence. You have to produce on the field. And Saquon Barkley, again, a great season in 2022. A lot of it was volume-based. It was not even extremely efficient in 2022. His explosive run rate has gone down every single year. That includes 2022. Again, a lot of it based on volume. So I don't even like when people, like, again, Saquon Barkley is a star. I understand that. But when you look at the production that guys like Andrew Thomas have given you, top tier, top quality left tackle play in the NFL, Dexter Lawrence over the last 2 years, one of the best defensive players in the NFL, not just interior defensive lineman, Saquon Barkley has not performed over the last multiple years of a sample size, has not been a top running back in the NFL. Has not. So
since his rookie year, pretty much. I mean, you could say. 29. Yeah.
2019,
he was great.
Great start. Sprains his ankle, comes back too early, struggles with that sprained ankle, and then finishes the season great. 2020, torn ACL. Sure. 2021, terrible. Coming off the ACL. 2022, great. A lot of it dependent on volume. Not really extremely efficient.
Not a lot of explosive plays either.
And then last year, the offensive line. But that's the problem. That's the problem with investing in a star running back, is that you need so much around him to be right. And the Giants can't get it right.
Yeah, we were talking about the first round, right? Joe Schoen, he's obviously had Kayvon Thibodeau. Maybe he can be, a Pro Bowl consistent player, but obviously I don't think he has that high tier edge rusher prowess that, we've seen in some of the past years' drafts. Evan Neal at the moment looks like a big miss. Deonte Banks, obviously a little bit too early to tell, but looks like he could be a solid player.
Good player, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at number 6 this year. It's a big draft, like you mentioned, right? Because Joe Schoen, if he misses again, it's bad, right? Because you've already had one miss with Evan Neal in the top 10, most likely. Obviously, we'll still give him a chance. But I kind of want to pose the question like this. Who is one player that you would be happy if the Giants selected, and who's one player that would have you freaking out if the Giants selected in the first round?
Pre-draft research, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want them to take the tight end.
Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers.
Yeah. No. And I think there's a chance that Waller might be gone, even though Joe Schoen has said, we expect him to be back. Well, Brian Dable also said that they expected Wayne Martindale to be back. I think that some things have developed, and I don't think maybe Waller may or may not be here. So I certainly that's like the tight end positional value. That's the tight end even more than running back for positional value, because even tight ends that are taken in the first round are like the hit rate is kind of like really not even hit and miss. It's kind of just like not worth it to take a tight end in the first round, take a tight end that high. Even though Brian Dable really does like his tight ends, and they were even looking to draft Payne Durham last year, who they had a top 30 visit with. The Buccaneers traded up one. We were live streaming the draft. The Buccaneers traded up one pick ahead of us in like the 6th round, and then you can see the camera cuts to Brian Dable since the Giants were like up next, and he's like pissed. And the Bucs drafted Payne Durham right before us. They knew that we were going to do that. The tight end Bowers, and dude, I want a quarterback. I want one. I want one of the top 3. I want one of the big 3. I think I lean Daniels over May as of right now. I just kind of started watching May. I watched 3 games of Daniels, and I like him, man. It's just so these 3 guys, obviously with Caleb and Drake May and Jaden Daniels, it just looks so easy. And the things that I'm looking at with quarterbacks this year, I'm not evaluating scheme and how he reads a defense. I don't know how to freaking do that. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to evaluate how a guy reads a defense or whatever decision making. Obviously, I'll look at decision making loosely, but I'm not a film guy. So I'm looking at, do you have a big arm? Can you push the ball down the field? Can you throw the ball outside the hashes? Can you drive it towards the middle of the field and utilize the middle of the field? But also, can you drive the ball towards the sidelines, right? When you have Jalen Hyatt that's running wide open on the sideline, can you get that ball to him? Can you drive that ball out there? So I'm looking for a big arm. I'm looking for a quarterback that can maybe make some tight window throws. There's going to be not wide open windows in the NFL. So can you make some of those tight window throws that's maybe going through a couple guys? And then I think the biggest thing for me is, can you move? You have to be able to move. Can you escape pressure? How do you deal with pressure in the pocket? And then can you keep plays alive in the pocket? Can you keep a play alive? Can you, whether it's in the pocket like Joe Burrow and Tom Brady do a great job of, or can you, Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, take it outside the pocket and either run, or are you looking to throw deep down the field? Those are the three things that I'm looking for out of quarterbacks this year. So I would love a quarterback, and if it's one of those top three, May, Daniels, or obviously you would have to trade up to get Caleb. That's what I want coming out of this year's draft.
And quarterback, the position I feel like that Giants fans had honestly talked about every draft since we drafted Daniel Jones. Like even after his rookie year, people were already looking at the NFL draft the following year to maybe. I feel like it's always been in the window there. It's always been like people have that in their wants.
But it was never really real. This year it's real. And I think
it wasn't real last year.
No, not in the first round. Not in the first round. And I'm of the belief, like I'm not thrilled if they take like a Knicks or a Penix in the second round. I'm not really thrilled with that, because if the quarterback is the most
right, if we're going all in.
You got to go get your guy.
If you're going to take a quarterback, then you view him as the best player on the board and the best player available at that time. And I don't know, because you also see what, I say that, but then you also see what Dable was able to do with Tyrod Taylor and Tommy DeVito and even Daniel Jones in 2022, where it's like, okay, well, Dable may not need the most talented guy, but also I would also want the most talented guy. Like I would want the guy with the big arm. I would want the guy that could flick of the wrist 50 yards and the ball just flies, and there's so little wasted movement, and the guy with just natural talent. Like I want that guy. So I feel like if you invest on like a Bo Nix or a Penix, then it's like, well, if there's an opportunity in next year's draft to, whether it's to trade up or take, we may not want to because we took this guy with the second round. So I don't know. It always just feels like, at least to me, unless it works, then I'm all for it, right? Quarterbacks outside of the first round, it's like, is it really worth it? Like, do you really believe that this guy could be the next guy? I don't know.
How many have hit over the past few years? You just got to think of it. Like, look at the draft. Like,
you do have Dak. I mean, you have the Purdy's, you have the Dak Prescotts of the world. I mean, you have that, but I don't know if that's the majority.
But none of those guys are the elites in the NFL, are they? Right? Like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Lamar's the closest, obviously, 32nd overall, but
that's still
Mahomes,
that's still the Ravens' first pick, I'm pretty sure. So.
Burrow, Herbert, so there was all those guys are top 10 picks. If I'm correct.
And if any of those guys, like, I don't think Bo Nix has the same natural gifts as the top three do. I don't think people say that Michael Penix has. I don't think Penix's game is going to translate very well to the pros, especially because if you want to talk about somebody that can improvise and that could run and that could extend plays, Penix can't really do that. So, yeah.
Alex?
Yeah,
he's good.
I think I agree.
I agree.
Oh, we have strong. Does anybody disagree?
No. I was just nothing. I just think every single year we've been saying about this quarterback thing. I know it hasn't been real in quotes, but it's always been on the social medias, obviously, and all the Giants fans saying we need a QB1.
I think what's on social media
happened.
I think what's on social media versus what's going on in the front. Obviously, it's very different things. And hey, all right. Here's the one thing where I think what draft was Hendon Hooker? Was that last year?
Was
that 2 years ago? No,
it was 2 years ago.
Or was it last year because was that Tennessee, Hendon Hooker?
Yes.
Yeah,
he was
they
throwing
liked
to
him a
Hyatt.
lot.
The
So maybe
Giants
it was
liked him.
it might have been last year
A
because
lot, yeah.
he threw to Hyatt.
Yeah, so
was like the whole thing.
the Giants liked him a lot, but it wasn't in the first round. Like
I
Hendon
know.
Hooker wasn't going to be taken in the first round.
I
think that's
still
like
don't believe it that it'll be a first round thing this year, but that's the whole point of the draft. Now we
even
wait and
even
see.
if quarterback fall, because I mean the thing I think if there's one of the big three there, or let's just say May or Daniels, because Caleb's not falling. If May or Daniels is there, you think that they would not take them?
Yeah.
At 6, no,
think they would
think
pass?
I do.
You think they would pass?
Shane loves Daniel Jones too much.
He doesn't. He does.
wants
That's just what
Daniel
he
Jones
says. That's just what he says.
You're putting too much. I think you're putting way too much stock.
I think he wants him to prosper like way too much, and I think also Dable has put too much chips down to say that they're going to draft a quarterback in the first round and then bench Jones after that. And I don't know.
You don't
and
need to bench Jones right away.
No, you don't. But then here's the thing. Then what about Dable's job at the end of the season?
I think.
Well, you start him halfway through, obviously. Probably.
Well, that's what I'm saying because if
I think them
like,
drafting a quarterback this year helps Dable and
Helps
Shane's
his
job
job.
chances.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, of course. That's what I'm trying to say. But all right. I'm just putting myself in a hole, and
I just don't think any of those.
Out.
It's worth having the conversation because I'm sure like I've seen a lot of people in our comments and stuff like that. There are a lot of fans that are.
I feel like it's more likely they'll draft. I feel like it's more likely they'll draft Malik Neighbors, even if a guy like Jaden Daniels is on the board at 6.
I just don't think any of those three guys. None of those three guys are going to be there at 6.
Which that Alex, you just bring up the point where I think you're correct.
Trade up.
I think they're not going to be there.
Even if
and I don't think, and they're not going to trade up for it.
Well, I don't even think they'll
no
be able to.
way Joe Schoen is trading up for a quarterback. Someone can clip this right now and throw me under the bus when they do it. They will not. There is no way Joe Schoen and the New York Giants are trading up for a quarterback.
Well, we'll see.
Absolutely no way.
You look at it. The Bears are going to take one, right? Clearly, at this point, I think it's 95%
Justin
chance.
Fields is gone.
Washington's going to take one, and why wouldn't New England take one?
Right.
So like I don't know how.
Especially now without Belichick too. Because I think a big reason why Mac Jones was still a quarterback in New England was because Belichick was still the head coach of the New England Patriots.
Future picks talk, though. Future picks talk.
I get it.
This is going to be
another have in New England, but it's a new regime in New England. It's different. I don't know.
What better way to start off your regime by taking a Giants first round pick and taking their second round picks and. You never know. That's what Bill would do.
I don't know.
The only way I could see it happening, JJ McCarthy flies up draft boards and he goes in the top 3, and then one of those guys.
That's one where I wouldn't be like mad, but I wouldn't be thrilled.
Yeah. All right.
We'll have to see.
At Talkin Giants, at Jomboy Media Football as well, and at Justin Penik on Twitter. Justin, once again. Great conversation with you. We thank you so much for taking the time to be with us on the show today and to many more, I'm sure. We're
going to talk in the summer Justin. After the draft.
At training camp. Sure. And then also Bobby now got us engaged in this license plate guy softball charity match that we didn't know about.
Yes.
So
see you there.
We'll be there too. Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, guys.